Hi, how is everyone? I hope everyone's having a great day. I really just wanted to speak to you for a few minutes, if you have that, about post-separation abuse. So I've been speaking about leaving an abuser or toxic person, and hopefully you get to do that, and when you leave, everything goes great. Everything goes as planned. You get to begin your new life without this person, or you just continue your life without being affected by the toxicity that this person brings into your life. But that doesn't always happen, and it should not prevent you from leaving. So you're going to find a way through it. There's something to be learned with the post-separation abuse. I wish I would have known about it before I left because I wasn't prepared for it and I could have been better prepared. But you can only do what you know. So just just make sure you get away from the toxicity because you will actually there's a break actually after you leave the toxic relationship because a toxic person just wants to play some kind of a game that they're actually happy that you left. So they'll go on and they'll start a new relationship and they'll tell everybody how horrible you are. They'll make up a lot of lies about you. They'll talk about everybody to everybody you know about how awful of a person you were to them. So because they're doing that, they're keeping themselves really busy. So this gives you an opportunity to start your life. And this is really the best part of leaving because you'll actually really feel like free. You'll feel like you can breathe. You won't feel the suffocation that toxic and abusive relationships keep. In that cycle that you're in, you don't feel confused. You'll have more time on your hands. You'll be able to start doing things you like again. So it's all really good. So there's no reason to not enjoy leaving a toxic person. Now, at first, you might have a lot of bad feelings towards that, but and it's basically a little bit tied into the fact that they just seem to just go ahead and move on. And you're like, oh, they didn't really care anyway. So it takes a little while to process that because the minute you leave, they're already with somebody else. And there's an objective to that because they're always playing some kind of a game, right? I think we talked about that. If we haven't, we need to talk about that because a toxic person or an abusive person is usually playing a game. You're trying to live a normal life, but that's not their objective. You're in some kind of a game with them, whether you want to be or not. So you don't have to play the game, but you're actually in their game as long until you disconnect from them or detach from them, you're in their game. So their game entails you leaving and then being happy about it because now they get to do what they want to do, right? Because they're acting like you're the ball and chain. You're the one that's holding them down. So now, look at me, I'm so free, that kind of a thing. And they're already, some of them are bed hopping, some of them already have been bed hopping, and now they're like, wow, I'm free to do this without anybody bothering me, or I don't have to sneak around anymore. So that's the time when you're feeling strange because you're out of the whole toxic cycle, right? So you're like, oh wow, what am I gonna do now? And so you hear they're already moving on over there, and you're just like, oh okay, so they moved on. And so it's kind of that's traumatizing, and that's the point. They want to traumatize you. So depending how long you were with somebody, they'll have your kids with somebody right away. They'll be, you can literally split up 10 days before Christmas and they'll have somebody at Christmas dinner, your mother-in-law, she don't care. She doesn't care about the kids either. Nobody cares about the kids when you're in an abusive relationship. That's one of the things I want to talk about today too, because the kids are getting the brunt of the abuse in the post-separation abuse. Because you can separate yourself from it, but unfortunately, the kids have to deal with it on almost a daily basis. So I just want you to keep that in mind, how detrimental it is that your kids continue to go through the nightmare after you leave. And you think you're leaving so you can help the kids so they can have a normal life, but that's not the case. Because an abuser or a toxic person, they look at people as tools. So your child is one of the main tools to get to you because they're playing some kind of a game and they need to motivate the situation to their advantage. Everything has to be their advantage. The strategy is they win, it's their game. They do what they want to do at all costs. So it's very detrimental to your children. Your children are going to, as bad as you're feeling, the damage on your children is horrendous. Okay. And I'm telling you this because there's nothing you can do to stop it. And so you leave an abusive relationship. Maybe you're taking the bulk of the, abuse. And when you leave, all of your loved ones get pulled into the abuse. Everybody gets pulled in. People, anyone you know gets pulled in, told a lie, becomes a victim of the lie, gets harmed and hurt feelings about your relationship with them because now they feel like they're in the middle with some abuser who may have not even been friends with them, but all of a sudden now they got to hear about you and all the worst things in the world they've ever heard in their life. So it puts them in a really bad place. So everybody gets put in a really bad place. That's what post-separation abuse is. So unfortunately, when you leave, you think you're trying to help, and it really weighs heavy on you, the fact that you get to watch everybody you ever cared about now think differently, poorly of you, and be convinced that for some reason you did something wrong by protecting yourself. And you're already broken down. You want to protect your children and your friends from this, so you move away and put yourself in isolation. So now you're isolated and your heart's even more broken because everybody you care about is affected by this. And you just wanted to get away and have a healthy life. And you didn't want anybody else to be pulled into the abuse cycle. But they're in it now, and they're in the post-separation abuse cycle. It's used to weaponize the children against you to meet their abusive objective, to isolate you in the community, right? The children may be keeping track of your whereabouts because the abuser or the toxic person wants to know everything you're doing. The children and your privacy is invaded. You have no privacy at this point. You actually had more privacy when you live with the abuser, right? This can include tracking your car, putting cameras in your bathroom. You at least could go to the bathroom in privacy before, right? Installing cameras in your home, talking to your landlord, lying to your landlord about you or your neighbors, right? Installing cameras or asking for them to watch you in places you frequent, like your church or your gym. It's the ultimate I spy. You are being spied on. They may speak to your neighbors and your kids' coaches, all the people you are trying to start a new life with. They'll try to catch anybody's ear they can. If you can move away, that's a little bit more helpful. They will lie about you so everyone you are getting to know will question you and think poorly of you, just because you made a choice to escape their abuse. They in turn abuse others even when you are forced to isolate yourself. Can't protect people. I tried to protect everybody. I realized that that was impossible. I wasn't able to protect anybody except myself. But now I'm being abused in a different way. So protecting your children through toxic relationships. So I just have a few points that I wanted to give. I want to give strategies. So teach your children to be accountable for their own behaviors, and that everyone should be accountable for their own behavior. Don't make excuses for your behavior, and that'll lead you to not make excuses for other people's behavior, correct? So, by teaching them to be accountable for their own behavior, they will require it from others. You want your children to require healthy behavior from people, so they'll know what kind of behavior to look for in others. Moving away to safety is the number one solution to toxicity. Get safe. So, teach your children to be safe, to get safe, however that has to be done. When they feel like they need to get safe from a toxic person or abusive person, then they need to get safe. You can only respond to toxic relationships with the information you have at the time. Looking back will show you more than you knew then. Use that information for next time. Don't feel guilty for what you did in the past with the information you had. So I didn't know about post separation abuse in the past, and I feel guilty about that because I wasn't able to protect myself or anybody from that. And so I have a lot of guilt with that. And so I'm trying to tell myself not to feel guilty about it. That's something that you don't have any control of, the way that other people behave. So it's not your job to make toxic people understand your perspective. It's your job to treat everyone with kindness, whether they return it or not, and to say hard things kindly. So tell people the truth. Tell people how they're affecting you, how their behavior affects you, that you think that their behavior is abusive. And then you should say that because people need to hear this. It doesn't need to be so taboo that abuse and post-separation abuse is happening because it is. It's prevalent. Sexual abuse, sex trafficking. People don't want to speak up. We need to stop speaking up about these things. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I hope everyone has a great day, and I thank you so much for your time.